Are Ghosts for Real? Part 2. Hello, I'm Susan David. In Part 1 of Are Ghosts for Real, I gave 3 illustrations of Hollywood describing and showing ghosts in 3 movies. Okay? One called Ghosts, one called The Green Mile, and the third, The Exorcist. These movies like to give us an idea of what spirits can do through the human mind and body when we lend ourselves to the spirit world to be used for these entities. You may want to first view the short video part 1 and then come to this one. The conclusion herein describing an incident of bringing up a spirit from the dead, but not an evil spirit, as in the other part 1. Okay, so this one. Last, it's an illustration from the Bible. It's in 1 Samuel 27, 1 through 3. Samuel was a prophet. He spoke directly to the king of Israel, King Saul. But Samuel died, and King Saul had warned the people not to speak to the spirits of the dead. It was strictly forbidden and against God's teaching. It was witchcraft. And the king was getting rid of anyone who did speak with dead spirits. And then one day, the Philistines brought their soldiers together to attack Israel. Achish told David, who God said was about to become king after Saul. He said, of course, you know, you and your men must fight as part of our Philistine army. And David answered, well, that will give you a chance to see for yourself just how well we can fight. Achish says, well, in that case, you and your men will always be my bodyguards. Well, the Philistines went to Shunem, and they set up camp. Saul called the army of Israel together, and they set up their camp in Gilboa. Well, Saul took one look at the Philistine army, and he started shaking with fear. So he asked the Lord what to do, but the Lord would not answer, either in a dream, or by a priest, or by a prophet. Then Saul told his officers, find me a woman who can talk to the spirits of the dead. I'll go to her, and I'll find out what's going to happen. Well, the very thing he was punishing others for doing, he was going to do. You see, if you called up a dead spirit, he had already said it's death for you. Well, his servants told him, well, there is a woman at Endor who can talk to spirits of the dead. So that night, Saul put on a different clothing so nobody would recognize him. And then he and 2 of his men, they went to the woman and they asked, will you bring up the ghost of someone for us? And the woman said, why are you trying to trick me and get me killed? You know King Saul has killed everyone who talks to the spirits of the dead. Saul replied, I swear by the living Lord that nothing will happen to you because of this. Who do you want me to bring up? She asked. Bring up the ghost of Samuel, he answered. When the woman saw Samuel, she screamed, and then she turned to Saul and said, you tricked me. You're the king. Don't be afraid, Saul replied. Just tell me what you see. She answered, well, I see a spirit rising up out of the ground. What does it look like? Well, it looks like an old man wearing a robe. Saul knew it was Samuel, so he bowed down low. Why are you bothering me by bringing me up like this? Samuel asked. I'm terribly worried, Saul answered. The Philistines are about to attack me, and God has turned his back on me, and he won't answer anymore by prophets or by dreams. So what should I do? Samuel said, if the Lord has turned away from you and is now your enemy, don't ask me what to do. I've already told you. The Lord has sworn to take the kingdom from you and give it to David. And that's just what he's doing. When the Lord was angry with the Amalekites, he told you to destroy them, but you didn't do it. That's why the Lord is doing this to you. Tomorrow the Lord will let the Philistines defeat Israel's army. Then you and your sons will join me down here in the world of the dead. At once Saul collapsed. He lay there stretched out on the floor, terrified of what Samuel had said. You can read the rest. It's in 1 Samuel 27. The end for the disobedient king. Well, it was not good. So the Bible confirms that ghosts are for real. But once someone is gone, you are not to talk to them or try to communicate in any fashion. My husband's been gone for 9 years, and when I want to give him a message, I give it to the Lord and ask him to relay the message. You don't talk directly to the dead. Bible teaches not to. Now, some things demons cause people to do when controlling them or possessing them, like ripping off all their clothes and running around naked, acting out sexually in front of groups, hurting themselves and others physically, if they can find a way, like an instrument of some sort. A lot of cursing and yelling and things that don't make sense. And when you look at the lives of, say, serial killers and the repeated cruel and disgusting way they torment and kill their victims, when interviewed, they often confess the same things. I heard a voice tell me to do such and such. And they confess. They get no rest until they commit these crimes. Demons are relentless. They're angry. They're hateful entities. And they turn the victims they oppress and or possess into the very state they are in. Our mental hospitals, prisons, and even the nursing homes are filled with people suffering from demonic influence. And the easy route, listen to this, the easy route is just drug them so that the keepers, staff, and even the doctors don't have to deal with it. They like to call it medication. It's drugging them. So we end up with people being tranquilized, which the demons have a heyday with the victims. Demons get to stay and have a home. And if the patients get out of hand, which is the demons manifesting, by the way, by using their mind and their body of the poor patient, will just prescribe another drug or increase the milligrams. And eventually, if enough drugs are in the body, the person will be docile enough to let the staff and others alone. I mean, after all, everyone gets their paycheck. Why rock the boat? Okay. Do I think every mental person has demons controlling them? No. But when you inquire as to what and when the person started showing signs of mental illness, normally it's after the person took drugs. You know, for example, like street drugs. When drugs enter the body, it's an open invitation for demons to follow. It's an open door. That includes alcohol. Anytime you alter the mind, that's why alcohol can be so dangerous if abused. Spirits are not just after your body. They want to control your brain as well. So, how is putting more drugs in the body helping the situation? Common sense, hello? That question to a psychologist or a psychiatrist is not allowed. You'll be labeled, canceled, and rejected. You're not allowed to believe in the supernatural realm at all. So much deception going on. Now, in many of these movies, once the troublemaker is cast out, the person's normal functions return. But then, what would we do with all the empty hospital beds? Nursing homes and mental health facilities. Some people would be out of business. Do you realize these facilities get at least $200,000 per year per patient? They don't let them go easily. We need more Christian believers in the supernatural who are willing to do it God's way and follow the given instructions listed in the Bible on how to deliver the oppressed and let them go free. Any takers? Compassionate healers? Am I talking to anybody? Deliverers? Pray. Volunteer to be a worker for God. Many are called, but few are chosen. Some do not answer the call. What's on your heart? I want you to look at some of my other titles in the video section of BibleByPhone.com. I deal with and give instruction to those who are called to this type of ministry.